We're going to walk through the process of creating a job header in OpenPoint Map. To do this, first click on the OpenPoint menu and then click on Add Job. This will display the Create Job dialog box. The first field is the type field, and I'm going to click on the drop down, and we only have one option currently for the type, but there can be multiple options available. The type determines the workflow and the business logic that determines what happens with the job as it goes through the entire life cycle. Consult your documentation if you want to understand what each of the types will do, and these can be highly customized on a per utility basis. The next field is the job code. It might be listed also as job number, and those can be automatically populated in some cases depending on what settings you have turned on. In this case, I have it so that it just requires it to be entered, so I'll do that now. And then after that is the description. The description is required. It does have an important part to play because it describes what's going on with that particular job. So in this case, we're going to say fix street light, and it could be really anything that helps you describe what that job is doing is what you should put in the description. Status notes is optional. It will be tied to the status of the job. So in this case, the first status will be proposed. So if you want to indicate something along the proposed status, then you can put that in there. Otherwise, you can just leave it blank, which is what I'm going to do. A CPR district is required. It does not limit you to a single district, however. It is kind of like a default district that's used in a few places in the system. You can still work with multiple districts as far as installations and retirements and transfers that you do as far as your layout goes, but the work order does require a single one to be at least associated to the job itself. The final option here is the warehouse, and this is actually optional. I'll go ahead and select one in this case. And sometimes it can be handy if you know there's only going to be a single warehouse involved in the entire job, then it will be able to provide it as a default if you select it here at this point. So once you've done entered all of your fields of information here, you can click on Create. So that will actually synchronize that job with the OpenPoint Web Cloud. And once it's done doing that, then we can continue on to the process, and you'll be able to see the job here. This is what's called the job details screen. It basically has all the fields you just entered. So you've got the job number here, the description, the type, district, warehouse. It will default to construction hours of cold. So there's a cold versus hot option, which you can modify. And the status will default to proposed generally, and it'll include the current date as well. So if you don't need any additional information as far as the job header goes, then you can stop here and you can move on to actually doing the installations and retirements. Or if there's additional information that you want to enter, you can click on the job attributes button here. And I'll make this a little bit bigger. And you can see that there's a whole bunch of additional fields that are available here. And so we're not going to go through all of these options. Every utility is going to want to use their own subset of these, and so you may want to consult the documentation or talk to OpenPoint more about what these do and what strategy you should use as far as entering these or not using these, depending on what you want to do. If you do make any changes, then you just click on the Save button up here, and then it will save those out and return you back to the job details screen. So from here, if you wanted to continue on, you could go into the construction units option here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. So notice here that there's two sides of this at the top here. There is the feature that's selected. Right now there isn't one, so it says select an OpenPoint feature. And then on the right-hand side is the work order that is currently that's been currently selected. So since we just created this one, it automatically selected that for us. So now if I just click on my selection tool and I select any feature here, then I can start to do installations and removals. And so notice here that the install button is now enabled, so is remove and transfer. And then also up here it shows the feature that I just selected. So I can continue on with the process. And additional videos will go through how to do the installations, removals, and transferring to complete the work order or job.